First, we wish our country happy 64th independence anniversary and a better, greater future ahead. May Nigeria prevail over all its foes. And here is my take for today. I'm talking about 2 points. One of the highlights of the ongoing annual United Nations General Assembly is the reform of the UN Security Council. Last week, the member states of the UN signed the Pact for the Future, which, among other things, agreed to the democratic reform of the Security Council, with new permanent members from Africa. Nigeria has already staked its claim to one of those permanent seats, and rightly so. I raised the question at the UN noon briefing on Monday, including whether the permanent members from Africa should also have the veto power, since the US is supporting Africans joining the Council, but they have said no to veto powers beyond the current permanent members. So I wanted to know if the UN Secretary General, who had been supportive of the move to have Africans become permanent members, would also support that African permanent members should have the veto power.
Sometimes in as early as May, the Secretary General spoke about the reform of the Security Council to the extent that he believes that Africans ought to have an equal voice. Now, is he going to speak about it during this General Assembly? And then does he support the idea that Africans should also have, if they become permanent members of the Security Council, should have the veto power?
Look, the Secretary General, I think, has been very clear on the fact that there is no African representation on the Security Council, and that is a blind spot, so to speak, that has impacted the work of the Security Council, the legitimacy of the Security Council.
While we await further developments on how this will go, Nigeria should get one of those 2 permanent seats on the Council, and it should come with the veto power indeed. Nigeria's contributions to the UN, especially among countries in the African continent, is unparalleled historically. We deserve this. My second point today is actually a memo to the president that the cabinet reshuffle is an opportunity. Now that the presidential spokesman, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, has confirmed a plan to reshuffle the cabinet of the president, we are saying to him today that this is an opportunity for the president. Based on his records in Lagos State, there are at least a minimum of 3 things that the president left in Lagos when he was governor. And these were clearly transformative ideas. And people are wondering why the president shouldn't do an anchor at the federal level. Number 1, he reformed the judiciary system with the welfare of judges significantly upgraded, and he resolved the problem of corruption in the state judiciary, at least then. He also updated the system with the Public Defender's Office. Now, some of these ideas have become a model across the country today. The second thing that I think he did that brought a significant improvement is the local government system that takes governance to the people via the ability of the state government to create those local governments and bring development close to the people. Number 3, he revitalized internal revenue generation that asserts the financial viability of a state government. And there are a number of other important reforms. Now, how did the then Governor Tinubu manage to achieve some of these things? He assembled a top-notch team of competent individuals who knew what they were doing and who had significant public interest in mind. He had, for instance, a transition team that developed master plans for each sector of governance, and in some cases, he appointed those who developed those plans to government positions so that they can implement the plans, and they did. Now, Mr. President, that has not happened in your rendezvous so far at the federal government. The nation has not seen the type of top-notch individuals like you put in your Lagos cabinet. And we're not saying that there are none at all right now. There are certainly a few great picks in the federal cabinet, but they are not nearly enough to deal with the severity of the situation that the country is today. This is no time for ministers learning on the job. There are more deadbeats in the cabinet, and it is also too large and unwieldy. A president of Nigeria at such a time like this needs transformative-minded people and processes in the key sectors. And the incumbent should use this cabinet reshuffling as the opportunity to make that happen. When the president was governor, he had a compelling chief of staff who sat down and got things done. When he was governor, Tinubu had trusted aides and commissioners who could disagree with him for his own good and for the good of the state. Who are those in the current presidency? Mr. President, there's a buzz in this town that people who can disagree with you, even theoretically, no longer have access to you. Since you became president, it would seem Mr. President was better prepared to be governor than he is to be president. And this cabinet reshuffle is his best opportunity to prove us wrong. And we shall be celebrating when he does that. Do it, Mr. President. It's good for you and it is good for the Nigerian people.